Mirëmbrëma të nderuar shikues, jemi me episodin e radhës të Edumedias. Ky program është mbështetur nga misioni i OSBE-s në Kosovë. Sonte do të flasim për përdorimin e medias dhe të teknologjisë nga të rinjt. Do të fokusohemi te edukimi digjital i të rinjve dhe për këtë çështje do të diskutojmë me dy mysafir që vijnë nga dy shtete të ndryshme me kontekste goxha të ndryshme në atë se si edukimi digjital është i shtrirë në këto vende të botës. Bashkë me mua sonte është profesori Nikos Panayotou, profesor në Universitetin e Aristotelit në Selanik të Greqisë. Welcome, Professor Nikos.
Thank you. Thank you. It is very nice to be with you and thank you very much for the invitation.
Thank you for being tonight together. Dhe me neve është edhe profesoresha nga Universiteti Temple dhe gjithashtu shërben edhe si drejtore e qendrës për edukim mbi median dhe informacionin, Sherry Hope Culver. Welcome, Professor Culver.
Hello, it's wonderful to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you for being with us. So we will start with you, Professor Culver. You are engaged on media literacy since 19th, and now, more than 2 decades later, media literacy is even more important. What can youth gain through media literacy education programs?
Gosh, well, I mean, I think media literacy education has been important all the time because we were using media in the 1990s and we're using media in the 2000s. The media might change, the type of media, the type of device might change. Maybe the biggest change now is just that because we can have it in our pocket, in our hands, it's something that's with us all the time. And so we're consuming that media all the time. And so for children, particularly young children who are just getting introduced to media and just starting to use it, they may not have the hardest thing for them is really the ability to be critical about it, to think critically about it, to really be mindful about how they use it, when they use it, how often they use it, the impact of using it. So all of that really bundles into their age.
Yeah, Professor Nikos, how do youth use media and technology, and are they doing it in effectively way?
Yes, they are doing it in not only effective, but I would say in a very creative way, in an amazing way in comparison with what we have seen in the past. And this is why we need much more in a relation with the past to equip them with critical competencies around and in relation with media literacy. Sherry Hope Culver is a professor that she has been working on the field, as you have mentioned, for years. Her work is exceptional in that field. I have been working from 2009 and onwards. And we think that, especially now that we are witnessing an information overload, it is much more than needed to address this information overload with critical competencies that will equip everyone and to be able to address these challenges.
We also have done a story with youth in Kosovo to see how they use media and, for instance, what kind of softwares or sources they use when they have different tasks on faculty or at school. And for this, we will see a story together and we will get back on studio to continue the conversation.
Shoqërinë në Kosovë karakterizon mosha e re, por edhe depërtueshmëria e lartë e internetit. Shifrat e Agjencisë Statistikave tregojnë për rritje të vazhdueshme të numrit të atyre që në anketa janë përgjigjur se kanë internet në shtëpi. Ndonse në vitin 2021 pati rënje për 0.3%, brenda periudhës 2017-2021 vrehet rritje 7.3%, pra 96% deklarojnë të kenë internet në shtëpi. Depërtimi i madh i tillë i internetit ka ndërlidhje direkte me përdorimin e mediave online. Në këtë drejtim çojnë edhe të dhënat e kompanisë së mediave sociale hallakate. Tendencë të hatashme rritje e viteve të fundit kanë pasur mediat digjitale në raport me të gjitha format e mediave të tjera, duke i kaluar të gjitha të tjerat. Portalet në Kosovë garojnë shpesh me njëra tjetrën për tërheqjen e vëmendjes së lexuesve e shikuesve nëpër media sociale. Më të përdorurat sipas të dhënave të hallakates nga viti 2021 janë Facebooku, Instagrami e YouTube, derisa peshë të konsiderueshme kanë edhe Snapchati dhe TikToku.
Dikon 2 deri në 3 orë në ditë, që konsiderohet mjaftueshëm, mirë po pra për shkaqe të ndryshme, zakonisht për mësim. Zakonisht pra rrjetet që i përdori më shumë janë tash Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram, mas shumë të TikTokuve të fundit, po zakonisht në Google Scholar për shkak se i kanë referencat, edhe neve na duhen referencat, edhe në enciklopedi të ndryshme. Zakonisht shikojnë sa janë faqe të besueshme edhe pastaj prej atyre.
Për përdorimin e internetit e përdorim kogja shumë, se është pjesë e pandoshme e shoqërisë, sidomos që unë në
Tash mesatarisht në telefon që shmaqiti averagjaur e kom 5 orë në dite, po rrjetet sociale jo qatë shumë, për arsyeja fati provimeve që është edhe humbje kohë tepër shumë.
A përdorni Google Scholar edhe a dini për çka shërbon?
Jo, nuk e përdori.
Me rëndësi internetin me shfrytzu për në lidhje me ligjëratat edhe me materialet për provime që i kemi edhe për me ngrit karrierën tonë.
A përdorni Google Scholar edhe a dini çka është?
Jo.
Thjesht në internet, do me thonë me kërkim të emrit të temës që po më vynë edhe zakonisht anglisht se shqip nuk ka.
A përdorni Google Scholar edhe a dini
Jo.
I kemi parë atë se çka thonë edhe të rinjt në Kosovë në raport me përdorimin e medias, kohën që e kalojnë në media, si dhe gjithashtu burimet që ata mund t'i përdorin në detyrat e tyre, në hulumtime apo në detyra në shkollë. And we will discuss about sources, online sources that young people can use on internet when they have different tasks. So, Ms. Culver, we will start with you.
Well, I guess, I mean, we have to acknowledge that the likelihood is that the place that young people are getting their news from is social media. And the place that they're likely going to is TikTok or YouTube. And so I don't think we're going to be able to divert them away from that. The question would really then be, how do you assess what's on there? And so, when people say to me, when I talk to, young people and they say, I get my news from TikTok, that's really misleading because TikTok has no reporters. TikTok doesn't pay anybody to do news. You're actually following certain people on TikTok, and that's where you're getting that information from. So you can select who you're following. There are legitimate news organizations that do bits on TikTok. So you might be able to get some information from a legitimate news source. So that means a place that pays reporters, a place that has editors that actually review the content and do fact checking before they would put something on TikTok. That's different than getting your news from an influencer who just has an opinion about it or saw something themselves on the news and decided to report it. That's the danger. So we can be great to get people to go to the actual legitimate news sources, but even if you're getting it from social media, there's a way to get it from legitimate sources posting to social media.
Professor Panayotou, what are online sources that young people can use in their school assignments?
They can use multiple sources, and we are using actually multiple sources. This is actually one of the major things that we have managed to acquire during the last years, being able to be informed by multiple ways and multiple means. It has been a great advantage, technological mostly, but it needs to be addressed also from equally from the social sciences. technology did whatever they could. They provided with various means in order to be informed. But now social sciences and especially sciences of communication, education, etc., should show people how actually to use these sources and how actually to make the most out of the meaning of these sources. And a very important element that we will have to have in mind when we use all these sources, it is that on the same time and during the use that we are doing of all these modern technologies, enemies of the right information has taken advantage of it and promote disinformation, which is a major challenge that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, Professor Panayotou, PISA results showed that only 1 of 9 school students knows how to distinguish fact from opinion in a text. How do you treat this issue in Greek context?
We treat this issue not only Greek context, but in a wider global context, taking into account the global experience. And secondly, because whatever happens in Thessaloniki, where I live and where I teach, it happens in Pristina, it happens in Philadelphia, it happens in Paris, etc. So what we are doing, it is actually trying, firstly, we have organized workshops that aims and addresses to school teachers in order to be educated on how they can use and bring into the classroom all this information and the knowledge that it is being gathered outside. We aim to train and educate parents also in order, together with their children, to be critical and responsible consumers of information. We have worked together with Sherry in various initiatives also that addressed journalists and other people that are related or they work around the information space in order to be trained on how they can produce and disseminate responsible information.
Yeah, Professor Culver, it seems that youth is not capable of moderating their use of technology. So what is the social impact of technology on youth?
I'm not sure that I agree with that statement. I mean, we can't assume that youth are going to be able to do something, apply that skill if we haven't taught them how to do it. Right? So it's vitally important that there are conversations about media use and about this ability to look at information and assess whether it's misinformation or disinformation. How do you find that it's credible? Those conversations need to be happening in school from the youngest age in an age-appropriate way, all through higher education. We can't assume that children are going to consume media and just all of a sudden know how to assess a source. So that, I think that's one piece of it is acknowledging that they need training in that, making sure we're doing it in schools, and then acknowledging that that skill building needs to happen I mean, Nikos mentioned the different arenas, like it has to happen in school with parents. The media industry can get involved, like the show that you're doing. The sort of civil society, government roles. I mean, all of those areas need to get involved so that we're helping young people to learn the skills they need to be able to consume the media in a thoughtful way and be, as Nikos mentioned, be creative with it, be innovative with it, but also be mindful about how it's influencing. They are capable of doing a lot more than we maybe have helped them to be trained to do, but we could help them to have those skills.
Yeah, by capable, my idea was more on the time that they spent on social media, for instance. And sometimes, at least in our context in Kosovo, it's like they say like, oh, I'm staying more than I'm thinking than I'm using social media. So that was my idea on discussing like what should we do in order to prepare youth like to be more secure on how much time they are spending in different media.
Yeah, we all are probably guilty of spending too much time on social media. It's easy to do that. And so, I actually on TikTok, if you're on TikTok for an hour or so, it in your scroll will come up a little message that sometimes that says, you've been on TikTok for a long time. Maybe it's time to take a break. And so you as a user can actually, there are apps that will help you do that will turn off your internet access, or will turn off your phone, or turn off whatever you're doing, your app. After a period of time, you can schedule something so that you're going to use something for a little while and put it down. I mean, it's funny, at the most basic level, even when a person is very young, I mean, even, younger than 7 years old or 6 years old, you can still teach the idea of sometimes we use media and sometimes we put it down, and we make conscious choices about that, right? We don't just walk in our house and turn on the television, or walk in our house, or wake up in the morning and reach for your phone. That it should be a moment where you decide, do I want to pick it up? Ask yourself that question. How long? I'm going to pick it up now. How long am I willing to give to it? 15 minutes? Okay, I'm going to set an alarm. 15 minutes, and then I'm going to put it down. So if you're more thoughtful about it, you can build those habits.
Professor Panayotou, how difficult you see to build these habits? Because even some apps now, they have this time limit when you can limit the time and the app will shut down immediately.
Yes, I think that there are three things. So the first thing is actually to use the technology in order to limit the time. The second one, it is, instead of considering this habit as something negative, to find ways of how to introduce it into the education, how to use it as an educational tool and mean. And the third element, it is actually how to train us in order to be producers, not just to consume information, but on the same time to be able to produce responsibly relevant content. I don't blame that much of the technology. Technology is here to stay and expand our horizons. We have to find creative ways of how to introduce and include these technologies in our way of life.
Professor Culver, since 2011, you are also an author of a TV show which has the focus on media literacy in US. So how much do you think that this kind of media education programs will help youth?
I think having the conversation is key, right? Where media is such an embedded part of our lives. Sometimes people are not even conscious of how much they are engaged. I mean, we often with students will have them as a class activity do a media diary for a few days, a week if they can, but even a few days, just to record everything, every interaction you have with media, so that you're tracking that just for a period of time. And people are usually just shocked at how much of their day is connected. And now actually some phones will track that for you, but it's different when you do that yourself. When you actually write down, you monitor how you're using that. So that, I think that awareness is step one. I also think something that Nico said is really key. This idea of creating media, not only is it a skill builder in you learning how to create, but it is through creating that you gain incredible insight about how media can manipulate, how media can alter the way you think, can open you up to new ideas. It's a really effective tool in that media literacy arsenal to be able to create content and see what that feels like, to make editing decisions and all of that. So I think that a show like the one that I do for my university is one piece. It brings up topics. It's a program like this one, it's a half hour, so it's relatively short. Talk about a wide range of topics, but it helps people to notice the pervasiveness of media in their lives.
What was the topic that attracted more the audience from the episodes that you had until now?
That's a good question. Usually when it's something very timely, so we've done some shows where we've looked at news coverage of an issue that has been in the news recently, maybe the way a particular story was covered or how visual imagery of the war or something, and really help people to think about the choices that the people that were creating the content made in order for you to see what you saw in that news story. And so sort of peeling the layers back and helping people to look at the content, like where might the camera person have been standing? Where was the reporter? Why might they have chosen to show footage that would have been upsetting to people? And so that discussion around sort of the creative process is usually very interesting to folks.
Professor Panayotou, what's the situation in Greek context regarding the media programs on topics such as media literacy, disinformation, etc.?
Yes, we are doing a lot of initiatives in order to promote awareness regarding this topic. One initiative is we create a relevant podcast about the phenomenon. Secondly, we have run similar trainings regarding journalists, educators, students, young people on how to use social media, how to tackle disinformation, and how to promote media literacy. And also, we are working a lot through Digital Communication Network Global, which is a global organization, in organizing similar global projects where we will bring together young people together with experts from all over the world in order to discuss about the phenomenon and also tackle this phenomenon.
Professor Culver, Professor Panayotou, a great pleasure having you tonight in our show. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for the invitation and having us, and it was great to see you all, even online.
Thank you. Great to talk to everybody.
Të nderuar shikues, pra ky është epizodi i sotëm për Edumedia. Ne do të shihemi të hënën e ardhshme. Mirëmbëjtje.